Hello, y'all. Keith Johnson here, your humble narrator, taking a brief time out from my regularly scheduled debunking to formally introduce this channel, explain what I intend to accomplish here. Now, I decided to go on YouTube primarily because this seems to be where the action is. This is where you'll find most of the Sandy Hook hoax nonsense being discussed. Of course, right now, the obsessive-compulsive hoaxers are the ones dominating the discussion about this tragedy, and I'm hoping to do my part to turn that all around. So in essence, at this point in time, we are surrounded by darkness, and what I have done is simply switched on my porch light in hopes of reaching those who think for themselves rather than allowing others to think for them. Case in point, just recently there was a retired Atlanta Braves baseball player by the name of Chipper Jones who sent out a tweet repeating that tired old lie that the FBI had confirmed no deaths in Newtown for 2012. Blah, 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 so on and so forth. You know, that claim made by hoaxers months ago that has since been thoroughly debunked. Well, somehow it reached the ear of Mr. Jones, and he repeated it. Someone intervened, I guess, and set him straight. He soon apologized for making the tweet, and he said this, quote, I had heard something from someone which I thought to be credible and tweeted without researching. Well, folks, that's precisely why my videos are here. It's for those who, unlike Chipper Jones, are smart enough to do some researching before they make complete asses of themselves and repeat something they heard from someone that they thought to be credible. It's for those who may come across something a hoaxer may have said or wrote and takes the time and effort to do a little fact-checking. Hopefully, chances are, with a minimum amount of effort, they'll come across one of my videos or one like it and realize that what they have heard is pure bullshit. So that's basically why my channel is here. I put it out there for you to find. I'm not looking for you. I'm not shining a spotlight out there or putting up a neon sign. I've simply switched on my porch light. Now, of course, as many of you know, especially those who live in the South as I do, that porch light also has a tendency of attracting a bunch of insects. Especially during the summer months. Well, I have the same problem, except I call these insects hoaxers, and unfortunately, they don't just invade during the summer months. It's hoaxer season all year round. And like insects, these hoaxers, they serve no useful purpose. They're just annoying, unwelcome guests. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, contrary to what some of you may think, this channel was not created to attract you. And I'm speaking directly to hoaxers now. I'm not running a ministry or an outreach program. I'm not trying to convert you. As far as I'm concerned, your delusions about Sandy Hook, man, that's your own personal hell. And believe me, it is a hell, because what you're doing is wasting your lives away, desperately trying to create a reality out of your illusions. It's what I call a futile exercise in mental masturbation. In other words, you're entertaining all these fantasies in hopes of reaching a climax. I mean, excuse me for being graphic, but it's true. You're hoping for that climax, but that climax never comes. Instead, you become lost in this perpetual cycle of disappointment and frustration. In other words, hoaxers, you can rub that bottle all you want, but you're never going to get a genie to pop out. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Now, there was a time, believe it or not, when I thought I could reach hoaxers, but that was back when I still called them truthers. You see, I was under the illusion that these were truth seekers who had simply jumped to conclusions early on before having a chance to sort out the facts. And I thought that all I had to do was set the record straight by countering the myths and the rumors with evidence and facts. But then I soon realized that these people weren't truthers at all. In fact, this lunatic fringe of conspiracy theorists has made it abundantly clear over and over and over again that they have zero interest in seeking the truth. You see, for hoaxers, it's all based on faith. It's a faith-based cult. I mean, they believe in the hoax, and any evidence that suggests otherwise is regarded as blasphemy to their religion. And it is a religion because trying to reach them using logic, reason, evidence, science, things like that, it's like standing before a congregation of churchgoers and arguing against the existence of God. You're just wasting your time. Now, if you're a hoaxer listening in, there is help for you, but it begins with you, and it can only happen after you make a conscious effort to stop living in denial. I mean, until you're ready to accept evidence and facts over your irrational theories, you're never going to recover. But hey, man, if that's how you choose to spend the rest of your life, be my guest. I can't stop you. And there's plenty of conspiracy porn out there on YouTube to get your rocks off on. Or you can join one of those hoaxer chat rooms and participate in one big circle jerk. But do yourself a favor. Don't waste your time here, because I'm just going to kill your buzz. Okay? Now, if you're a hoaxer who's stopping by for a visit, consider my channel the equivalent of a drug rehab center and expect to be treated like the pathetic addict that you are. And for those listening who have sought help in the past for substance abuse problems, I think you'll appreciate this analogy. You see, drug rehab centers, they don't run a ministry or an outreach program either. In other words, you won't see them driving down Skid Row, pulling drunks off the street and yelling, "Let me help you, please let me help you." Actually, it's not like that at all. It's actually quite the opposite. You have to come in seeking help, and you have to have somewhat of a humble attitude. What you don't do is storm through the door and say, "All right, if you think you can help me, give it your best shot." No, sorry, doesn't work that way. You come in with an attitude like that, and you're likely to get booted out the door. And the same goes for my channel. This is not a place where hoaxer bullshit will be tolerated, okay? Hoaxers are not allowed to come in drunk off their asses on conspiracy moonshine and use my channel as a toilet or spray graffiti all over my walls. Ain't gonna happen. I mean, if you want to post a comment on my page, you'll come here with a sober mind, and you'll abide by the rules. My rules. You see, it's my house, my rules. And the rules are pretty simple. I mean, number one, stay on topic. If you're posting in the comment section of a video that addresses how victims are identified by medical examiners, please speak to that. Don't ask me to debunk 26 Christmas trees. That's what you call off topic, okay? And if you do manage to stay on topic and disagree with anything that I claim in a video, explain where I was wrong and back up your counter-argument with source material. And I mean links, okay? Do that, or your comment will not likely get posted. In other words, you, Mr. or Ms. or Mrs. Anonymous Hoaxer, you're not a source for anything. For example, if you're disputing the authenticity of handwriting based on your analysis, that doesn't account for jack shit unless you have a diploma hanging on the wall. And if you do, we want to see it. I'm sorry, but if we know you only by your nicknames like Count Chocula or Captain Crunch, then you're not a verifiable source, I'm sorry to say. If you claim to be an expert in handwriting analysis, for instance, tell us who you are and where you practice and show us your credentials, just like you would have to do in a court of law. And I will be more than happy to entertain your argument and post your comment, okay? Now, please don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that you have to be an expert on a particular subject to make a claim. For instance, if you make a comment about DNA, just back up your claim with a link to a medical paper or an article or an interview you conducted. You see, that's what I do, okay? If you're not an expert, consult one or quote from a legitimate source. It's very easy to do. Just copy that link up there in the address bar and paste it in your comment. Now, I know that chances are your comment may come up as spam on YouTube because of that link, but never fear. I always check my spam folder, and you have actually a better chance of getting your spam comment read because you posted a link, okay? Just make sure it's relevant to the topic discussed in the video. That's all I ask. Okay, next. Never ask me to prove anything to you. You're in no position to be making demands of anyone. For instance, I got this little punk following me around, showing me pictures and saying, "Keith, I demand that you tell me what these markings mean." And my answer to this punk was, and still is, no, you tell me what you think those markings mean. Spell out your theory as thoroughly as possible, and if it just so happens to become a big topic of conversation among your other hoaxer friends, then I'll probably look into it, but otherwise I couldn't care less. You see, I'm a fact checker. I'm not a salesperson, okay? In other words, I don't come around your restaurant trying to sell you a side of beef, okay? I'm more like the health inspector, making sure you're not poisoning your customers, okay? Capiche? So, to reiterate, I have nothing to prove to you. No one does. The preponderance of evidence is overwhelming. The case is closed. If you ask me to prove that the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting happened, I will refer you right back to the final report with these instructions. You claim it was a hoax. You're saying that the final report is a fraud. You're accusing those whose statements and testimonies are documented in this report of being liars. Well, then the burden of proof is on you now, isn't it? So prove it. Produce your evidence. Call your witnesses. Bring on your experts. So far, you've failed to do any of that. All you've produced is theories and speculation and manufactured evidence. Okay? And finally, don't tell me what to debunk or address in my next video. I decide what my next video is going to be about. If you have a suggestion, then message me. You can do that on YouTube. Okay? Now, I'm constantly watching what's being discussed by hoaxers. If I see some theory that's gone viral on the internet, or a talking point that is repeated over and over and over and over again, that's what I tend to gravitate towards, especially if no one else has made an effort to address it. You see, I'm certainly not the only one doing this, and I see no reason to cover something that's already been adequately debunked. But still, I get comments all the time. Oh, well, you're just debunking this obscure theory over here and ignoring this, that, or the other thing. Well, hey, man, you know, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been writing about this. I've been doing radio shows and debates, okay? I just got started here on YouTube last month, and I've already logged 12 videos. I mean, that's like, what, one every 3 days? I think that's pretty good. So if I haven't got to it yet, I probably will in the coming days, weeks, or months. Just stay tuned. Or don't. I mean, I really don't care. And the objective here has nothing to do with building an audience. I'm not looking to amass a big viewership, okay? My only objective is to make this information available. So it's there. That's all. And another thing, if I happen to bend the rules that I just laid out to you, guess what? That's my prerogative because this is my channel. I get to do what I want. Okay, now, some people ask why I'm doing this. And there are several reasons. For one thing, I'm not the type of person who can just sit back and allow the misinformation and disinformation about Sandy Hook go unchallenged. I can't. I mean, since I'm fairly well versed on the facts, I would consider turning a blind eye to these liars to be not just irresponsible, but morally irreprehensible, on the verge of being a sin. I mean, if I was a real religious person. It'd be like watching a child predator luring a child to his car with a big bag of candy and not doing anything about it. And then there are a bevy of personal reasons, not the least of which is wanting to be on the right side of history, you know, to be on record for future generations to see that, yeah, I lived in Salem in those days, but I was among those speaking out against the villagers when they were out there screaming, "Burn the witch! Burn the witch!" Yeah, because we are living in a similar era right now, and that's precisely how these hoaxers will be regarded. Yeah, history will not look upon you kindly, hoaxers. Believe it. Now, you know, if it wasn't so repulsive and pathetic, it would actually be funny. I mean, the hypocrisy of these people, these same people who call themselves patriots and demand that their constitutional rights to due process be respected, but they've already tried and convicted their fellow Americans in their little kangaroo court of opinion, all based on gut feelings and hunches and manufactured evidence. I mean, it's disgusting. These same people who are drunk on Alex Jones fear-mongering and accuse the Department of Homeland Security of turning neighbor against neighbor with their "if you see something, say something" program. Well, who is it that's turned against their neighbors? You hoaxer, that's who. And just one last thing. Earlier I mentioned that moron baseball player who tweeted about Sandy Hook. Pretty minor story as far as news is concerned, but a big, major call to action for the hoaxers. I mean, as soon as the story of this apology broke, hoaxers on the Sandy Hook hoax Facebook page rallied the troops and were told to flood the comment sections. So you see what I mean by living in denial, this futile exercise in mental masturbation? They're sitting there at their computers thinking that they can change reality if they can just simply dominate the discussion, if they can go there and post their links, you know, and put a bunch of comments there, that somehow they've won. But I'm sorry, hoaxers, that's not the way the world works, okay? Decent society is repulsed by you. You're the bottom feeders, the underbelly, the worst of what this nation has produced. I mean, if you really want to see what this country thinks about you, do this. Get all your hoaxer buddies together, okay? Get up from behind that computer screen. Get your people all together. get your signs and your slogans, get on a bus and go down to someplace like Times Square. Stand on a corner and see how long it takes before the police arrive. And I'm not talking about the police arriving to violate your free speech. No, I'm talking about the police arriving to protect your ass from getting beaten within an inch of your lives. That's your litmus test right there. So anyway, glad we had this little chat. As you can tell, I did this in segments. I'm not that long-winded. But hopefully, if no one manages to subvert my channel, I'll be back in a few days to pick up more of the litter that's been strewn across this thing we call the information superhighway. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is Keith Johnson, signing off.